Hi everyone. Welcome back to our class. Today we will continue with our chapter 10, solid waste processing and recovery. Okay, so during last chapter you've been learned on the solid waste management, and then you know that during the solid waste management we need at the ends we need to send our solid waste to the landfill. So now we need to learn how after the trucks bring our solid waste from our house, what is happening, how they process it, and then how can we actually recover all these solid waste that can be used again. This is help to reduce or along our lifespan of our landfills. Okay, so because one, the landfill is actually putting on our land, and then the land capacity is actually limited. So how are we going to make the lifespan of the landfills longer? Then we need to recover, because previous chapter you learned a lot of things that we throw out or we bring it away is actually some things that might be valuable and some things that might can be useful for the productions or for others people. Okay, so now we would like to go in or explore more how we're going to process and recovery the solid waste that we have. So for today's lectures, the course learning outcomes, there are three. Okay, so it's actually Xiao Otto explained the important elements. So what is the important element is actually how we process and how we recover. So how we do it, okay? And then analyze the current issues. And then the third finally is to discuss the problem solving, how we solve these problems. Okay. So what is solid waste processing that you might be thinking is actually to improve the efficiency of the solid waste disposal system. So as I mentioned to you, it actually helps to and longer the lifespan of our landfills, and then also is not to let them working it so heavily, but then they can work in more reduced burdens. Because let's say if each of us throwing 2 kilograms trash into the dustbin and then all sending to the landfill, there is added extra loads. But then if you're able from the 2 kilograms you're able to reduce into 1 kilograms, then the waste will be cutting off into 50%. Okay, so second is to recover the resources, some things that we can reusables, and then also to prepare the materials for the recovery of the conversions, product, and energy. Okay, so these are the processing technique that we having in currently. So the techniques that we're having, there are four processing technique. The first is the mechanical size and also the shape alterations. So we will alter the size and the shape of the solid waste components. Okay. Second is the mechanical component separation. So we will separate it by using mechanicals for those that we can recover the materials. Okay. Thirdly is the magnetic and electromechanical separation. Is something that we separate the ferrous on the non-ferrous material, because magnet, something that is still, then it can be go separate easily by using the magnet. And then finally is drying and dewatering. So we need to remove the moisture from the solid waste. So once we're able to remove the moisture from the solid waste, then the leachate that created will be much more reduced. So during the wastewater treatment plants also, it will reduce the workloads. Okay. And then these are the methods and also the equipments for processing and recoveries. So we having like the manual sortings, and then we also having the size reductions, and then also the size separations, and then the magnetic field separations. This one you can read it by yourself. And then this is the process flow chart diagram for the material recovery facility MRF. Okay, so from here you can see when we say about MRF, so from the first one you can see here. So the mixed recycling is picked up by the hauler. So you pick up from your house, and then it will bring it to the recycling to the MRF. So the people will start to sorting. So the cupboards and paper, and then all these So it will separate first the cardboard and the paper out. And afterwards, we will have the can, plastic, glass, all coming here. So when coming into here, there is a magnet one. So all those magnetic or ferrous materials will be bringing up. So it will come to a density blower to redirect the plastic to the new conveyor belt. So because the plastic is more lighter, so we will put in the blowers to blow it out. Okay. So lastly, it will be go only the glass. So this one been sending, so we will have the plastic separations. Okay, right. So for the material recovery facility that are taking the e-idaman examples that they're having, their main objective is to minimize the waste to the landfill. So we would like to minimize the waste that we send to the landfills. So the recyclables that collected from the public and commercial sectors in the form of cardboard, paper, HDPE, PET, PP, steel, and aluminum and tin. So these recyclables are manually sorted and built at our material recovery facility to meet the market specifications. And then also they launch the recycling reward programs that we call it as the Recycle for Life. So they will give you a cash card that you can register and then receive the cash card. So all the ways that you'll be separate at your home, you can sell it for them and then they will put the money inside the card or seconds. It's actually they will paste a serial numbers on your gate. So when you put it outside your house, the trucks and the person that come and collect, they will scan. And then the monies will automatically go in to the card. Right. So what are the advantages of the MRF? So from the advantages that E-Idaman's statistics showing that by 2017, they're able to recycle collect all those like 4,000, almost 4,000 tons of the recycle waste. So means that we actually reduce 4,000 tons of the waste that go into the landfills. And then by 2020, they success to reduce or reclaim refined bags for the organic waste for 20% and then change it into a compost. Okay, so they create 1,200 compost and sell it to for their as the added income for the companies. Okay, so as all of you know, when we talk about recovery, so the first thing must be coming to the recycle, then only we can recover some things back to us. So recycling of salvages is a form of resource recovery and is the reprocessing of the waste to recover the original raw materials. So there are types, five places that you can do the recycling. So the first one is at the source where you generate it. So from your house. Second is the drop-off centers. You can send it to the drop-off centers or they can separate. You just send everything there and then people will separate for you. Curbside collection is something that you put outside your house. Okay, and then material processing facilities and transfer station. And then finally is the landfills. People will go to landfill and collect all those useful things and then they bring and sell. So that one is their income for the scavengers. Okay, so what are the benefits of the recycling? The first one is conservation of non-renewable resources such as metals and petroleums. Because when we say about the use of recycled materials such as aluminum, ferrous metals, and the plastic is actually reduce the extractions of the non-renewable resources. So for energy conservations, the use of recycled aluminum beverage cans will actually use 5% from the energy compared to when you you utilizing the recycled ones. And then when you reuse the glass and the plastic container 10 times, it consumes less than 30% of the energy of a single use container. Okay, the third one is the environmental protection. So recycling is creating the less pollutant emissions into the air, water, and also the land compared to when we extract the virgin materials. Okay, just example, if you use a recycled paper, you use the paper and recycle it and make a newspaper, is just you didn't cut off the tree. So the pollutant is actually much more lower. So finally is the land conservations. The land requirements for landfill will be reduced if a greater volumes have been recycled. So these are the materials can be separate and recover at the source, and then also can be recycled. So we have glass, paper, plastic, metals, battery, and also the yard waste. Right. So this is one of the example of the drop-off centers. So then sometimes when you go to Tesco, you can actually try to look for this. This one is located at Johor for Bukit Indah Tesco. Okay. So there is the recycling collection centers that you can just drive through and then put everything. All right. So these are the codes. So when you would like to do recyclings, you need to always remember that it's not everything can be recycled. As example, for the plastics. So we have 7 types of the plastics. So there are only 5 can be recycled, 4 can be recycled. There are 3 types of the plastic is actually not recyclable. So next time when you would like to buy something, please check the labels. What is the categories, right? And then also paper, we will separate it. See, magazine, notebook, paper books, phone books, newspaper, packagings, and then also the glasses. There are different colors of the glasses, and then you have to categorize it into different one. Okay, so these are the numbers of the incinerator and landfills that we have in Malaysia. So landfills, there are 2 types of landfill. One is the normal landfills that we just go and then we just dump and then compact, put on the cover, and then that's all. There's another one is the sanitary landfill. When we talk about sanitary landfill, is something that we have extra facilities. So you have the leachate collection pond, and then we have the methane gas recovery facilities. Okay, so it has is a more complete or systematic landfills, and it can be used more longer and then have more functions that we can actually especially in terms of recovery, it can help more. So later when going into the landfill chapters, you will learn it more. Okay, so from here you can see we only have 4 incinerators in Malaysia currently. So one in Kedah is actually in Pulau Langkawi. So all of these 4 is actually mainly located at some place that is hard to access, and then also mainly is for the island usage. Because why? The land on the island is small. So if they build up the landfills, then it will taking small place for them to develop. Okay. So for Pahang, one is Pulau Tioman and then one is Genting Highlands. So the Perak one is actually in Pulau Pangkor. Okay, and then we have another biggest incinerators in Perak, very close to Taiping, but then that one is only for clinical waste, which is more to hazardous waste. It's not a municipal one. It's only for hospital waste. Okay, and then these are the sanitary, and then this is the not sanitary one. Okay, so when we're saying about the resources recovery for energies, they actually all those rubbish that we're having, all those solid waste we're having, it can actually convert into energies by using some technologies. But then how we do it? So now you can see, okay, solid waste has a value as a fuel with the separations and removal of the non-combustible portions of the solid waste through shredding, screening, and also egg classifying. So the most modern combustion devices are designed to recover the energies. So the first refuse to electricity system was built in Hamburg, Germany, and then also the New York City in USA. So solid waste are burned in a special design incinerator furnace that jacket with the water filled with tubes to recover the heat as a steam. Okay, if all of you knows that the Malaysia electricities others than hydropower, we are actually generate our electricity by burning the charcoal. Okay, we're burning the coal and then convert into electricity. So since if we would like to burn something and then generate the electricity, why don't, and every day we are creating so much of the waste. So why don't we just burn our solid waste and then convert it into electricity like Germany's and US? Okay, so this is one of the things that we, in the futures, we hope it might be changed for the incinerator facilities, all the upgraded smart. All right. Okay. So what is RDF? The refuse drive fuels, which is those that we convert from the rubbish into the electricity or into a fuel. Okay. So the combustible functions of the solid waste have been separated from the non-combustible portions. Okay. So RDF is actually can be produced from the processing of the municipal solid waste. And then solid waste can also incinerated in the waste to energy plants to produce a steam for direct use for all conversions into the electricity. So we are suggest these waste to energy plants should be located, provide in the high urbanized areas because it's not taking too much of space to build up the landfills, but then we burn all the solid waste. And then when the high urbanized area, so means that the solid waste generation rates also will be high. Okay, right. So and then also we can actually recover the methane gas from the landfills, for especially the sanitary landfill, because as I mentioned just now, sanitary landfill is actually a landfills that having more engineer facility or complete system. So our solid waste, after some chemical reaction, it can actually release some gas. So those gas is actually some things that we can use it in generations the electricities. Okay, so a byproduct of the sanitary landfills produced as a result of the anaerobic decompositions of the organic materials. So it produced from a well-designed gas collections and gas extractions and processing system. So by removing the carbon dioxide and also hydrocarbons, the heating value can go increase until to 37.3 megajoule per meter cube. And then the methane recovery are suitable for the largest landfill site, which is more than 60 hectares. Okay, so after all of this, and then I do mention a lot of time that you can do composting at your house for those organic materials, especially from those food waste. So what is composting about? So composting is defined as the biological degradations of the organic component of waste under a controlled conditions to produce a stable product that we call it as a compost. Okay, so the controlled decay of the organic metals in the warm and moisture environment by the actions of the bacteria, fungus, and other organisms. So the principal applications of the composting are yard waste from your gardens. All those tree and leaves that you cut, is actually can do, can, usually you burn it, right? So after this, you can try to do the composting at your homes. So the organic fractions from the municipal solid waste, the fruit skin, the vegetables that you cut is because of not beauty, yellows on the leaf, so you would like to throw away. So the partially processed commingled waste is like the soy, some things, okay? All the co-composting organic fractions with the wastewater sludge. Okay, so what are the composting process? So the key concept and also the main objective of the composting is a biological process. So composting also result in the productions of a biologically stable end products. And then the end products is need to be free from the pathogens, free from the plant seeds. Why? If not, it will grow it out from your composting box, and then also can be applied to the land beneficially. So we can put it on the land as the activators. Okay, so these are the three basic steps. Okay, so first is the pre-processing. So we need to cut the size into a small one, and then we need to remove all the soil from all these seeds or others. And then we need to decompose it. So we need to put it in, and then we need to add some bacteria inside. So what is the bacteria? Is usually we use tempeh as the bacteria, is or yeast. something that can grow. Okay, and then finally is the post processing. So after it's been successful, then we have to bring it out and then shipping again, then only we can pack and seal it. Okay. So what are the functions of the compost? After you doing the composting, so the product we call it as a compost. So what are the functions of the compost? The compost functions is to improve the soil's moisture retention because the soil is actually more wet and then it's more too small. So it can actually holding more water. So when you having more enough water, the plants can grow more faster. So it is a good soil conditioners, but then a poor fertilizer, just like your hair. You need the conditioners to make it nice. Okay. So used as a soil amendments for agriculture, soils and landscaping in municipal parks, gardens, home gardens, or greenhouse use. And then used as a landfill cover, land reclamations, animal litter, and possible animal feed. So finally, it's used as an additive to the fertilizer as a fuel or in building materials. That's why I said it's a vitamins to the land. Okay. Okay. So these are the compost process. So you choose a place and then add the ingredients, soil, and also the brown materials, and then green materials, all these things, and then add some waters, and then keep the things moving, and then wait for a while. Okay, so these are the things what can be composed. And then this is the compost bin that you actually can purchase on Lazada or Shopee, and then you can do it at your homes. Okay. Okay. But then some things is good, right? But then why there is not so common or not so familiar that available on our surroundings? Because there are some issues in the implementations that we need to taking care on it. So the principal issues that associates with the use of the compost process is the productions of the odors. It might having a smell because it's just that when you keep your solid waste too long in your house, also it will create some smell. So this is also the concept, it will having some smell. So, and then the presence of the pathogens, the presence of heavy metals, and where we should put it, facility settings. So we need to have a proper process design on operations also. And then also the finally one is the public health issues. So it will anyways it will come and relates to us. So we would like to make sure that it's good to our health as a user or somebody that stay nearby to the neighborhoods, right? Okay. So this is a municipal this is the chapters for the landfill. So after we having the composting, we recovery everything, and then those that balance you have to send to the landfill after you doing the recycles, the process of burnings, and then also composting, and then there are still some that you need to dispose at the landfills. So what is the landfills? So this is actually the for the landfill chapter is more to give you general ideas. I'm not going to ask you to go deep into it, to let you have the idea what is landfill, and then is it the landfill only some things that you look from outside like this, but then apparently not. It's actually having some layer inside it. So we have some we say as an engineering structure some things before we can use. We can't simply take some lands and then use it as a landfill, or we just dump it there without checking is it suitable or not. Okay. So the definitions for the landfill is a landfill is known as a dump or tip in a site for the disposal of waste material by brewery and also the oldest form of the waste treatment. Okay, so landfill is just some place that you go and dump. Okay. Historically, the landfill has been the most common methods of organized waste disposal and remains so in many places around the world. Okay, so this is the physical process that happens in the landfill. Okay, landfill is common landfill. So you have the compactions, you have the crashings and partially mixings. And then this is the biological process that might happen inside the solid waste. When all the solid waste combine, this is the process. Okay, right. So what is the factors that affecting the landfill decomposition. So the major environmental factors that affect the rates and also the extent of the biochemicals decompositions is first is the moisture, second is the temperature, and then the soil cover permeability to the water, rainfall, and also the solid waste processing before the landfills. Because when we have too much of the moisture, the landfills will degrade in a more faster rate. Okay, also same when you're having a high temperatures, it will having a more fast biodegradable process. So the settlements will be more higher. That's why we need to do the compactions to remove all the moisture. But then where the waters go after we do the compactions, the moistures are go out. Where is go? So you will learn it in the next check next part. Okay. Okay. So the landfill operations, this is for sanitary landfills. When we talk about operations, we go into the sanitary landfills. Okay, a sanitary landfill is an engineer facility that requires a detailed planning and also specifications. So it needs a carefully constructions and efficient operations. In a landfill, the solid waste are disposed by spreading in thin layers and then compacting to a small particle volume and covering each day or periodically with the soil or suitable substance material in a way that minimize the environmental problems. Okay, so these are the basic, the cross sections of a landfill. Okay, so you can see here, this is the gas room. Okay, at the lower level here, you can see we have the linear. So this is the linear, the black color ones. This is the linear. So the linear is actually a layers that cover the lands from pollutants. Because why? All of us know when the solid waste been putting here, all the moisture will go down by the gravity. But then we can't let this water to go into our underground water resources. So we need to put a layers, we call it as a membrane filters, to membrane fibers, liner, to cover it to protect the waters from going down to our water resources. So we will put the piping here to collect all those water, all those leachate water. And then we will sending it to a pond. And then only we do the water, wastewater treatment process. Okay, so the solids we will be putting here and then we compact with a soil. So that is the cover. And then we have another layer again. Why? We would like to protect the rainwaters to go into our solid waste. Okay. Then only we putting on the grass. Okay. And then this is the gas van. Gas van means the gas collections, the methane recovery just now is actually collects from here. So the gas was sending to the center. Okay, so you can see here. So this is the methane gas collection. So we will see some things like pipings that go deep inside the solid waste and then it will go up. Okay, and then this is the ground layer, which is we call it as a leachate collection system. The waters, the black colors, the waters coming from the solid waste, we call it as a leachate. And maybe if when I mentioned about leachate, you have no idea what is leachate, but then it's the most common and easier for you to understand when the truck or the lorry that pick up the solid waste is go past your house, there are some black waters that at the backs will go along. So that is the leachate water we call. So this is the modern landfill that you can see from here. So it's more simplified one that you can understand. So we have the linear to protect and then we put the trash and then this is the collection system. Okay. Right, so these are the elements that are available in the landfills. Then so these are the methods. Okay, when we say about landfill, it's not just only you go and then put it there and then compact and then done. It having a different methods how you're going to operate your landfills due to the topographies. Okay, we have to identify the topography, then only you know which method you will of the operations that you need. Okay, so we have three types of the operations, which is trench method, area methods, and canyon methods. But then in these lectures, I only introduced to you there are only two methods, which is trench and areas. And this is the most common that we have in Malaysia. Okay, first of for the trench method. So trench method is usually used on the level or gently sloping land where the water level is low, which is not near to surface. The water level is down there, deep inside. Okay, so the advantage of this method is that the soil taken from the trench can readily to use as the cover. So you no need to buy extra soil or you no need to find extra soil because you dig the hole. So the soil that you dig out, you will put aside as a stockpile, and then after you put your solid waste compact, and then you need to cover it. Okay, so in the trench method, the excavations in which the landfill is placed is excavated specifically for the purpose of the landfill. The soil is temporary stockpile, so the waste is placed on the ground surface or more commonly a landfill linear. And then we was having the spread in the layers. Okay, second is the area method. So the area method is different from the just now one. Just now one we dig a hole, but then for area methods we didn't dig a hole. Why? Because the water table is high, which is very close to the surface. So if we dig the hole, then we might pollute the water resources, or we might destroy the water resources. Okay, so area method is used when the terrain is unsuitable for excavations of the cell, it's not suitable for diggings or trench to place the solid waste, so such as the high water tables. So the site preparations can include the use of the linear and leachate control system. So the method is seldom restricted by the topography, so it's no matter which kind of the topography, you can also use it. So the solid waste is deposited on the surface, compact and then covered with a layer of a compacted soil at the end of the working days. It need to do it every day. Why? Because if you didn't do it every day, when the rainfall's coming, it will wash away the solid waste. Like, so this is the cover. Why we need the cover, and then are vulnerable to attack from at least the 7 factors. So it's from the erosions, vegetations, soil, sunlight, and then subsidence and rubble tires, humans activities. Okay, so all of this is some things that why we need to have the cover, and then why the cover is important. So you can read it by yourself. Okay. So now we're going into part 3, which is the landfill leachates and also the gas collection system. Okay. So the part 3, this is the leachates collection system. So you can see we have the geomembrane layers, and then we have the pipings that will send the leachates out. So that the leachates didn't, when we're having the membranes layer, so that the leachates won't go into our underground water. And you have this idea during the soil pollution chapters. Okay. So leachate is the water that get badly contaminated, contaminated by contacting the waste. So it seeps into to the bottom of the landfill and is collected by a system of pipe. Okay, so the components that having is impermeable liners, granular materials, collection pipe, leachate storage tank, and then also is trucked to a wastewater treatment facilities. Okay, so this is the leachate collection pond. Okay, so from here we need to send it to the wastewater treatment plants. Why? Because we need to go through. Before it released to the river, it has to be treated and make sure it's clean. Okay, so what is the problems with the leachate collection system? So the leachate collection system can clog up in less than a decade, which is about 10 years. It will be clogged up. Why? Because of the silt and marks, because of the growth of the microorganism, all the chemical reactions into the pipings. Okay, right. Next is the gas collection system. So you will see here, this is the gas collections pipe. All right. So this is the thing. This one is in Penang. This is in UK. Okay, so the gas collection system is a systematic engine facility to remove all of the gases produced in the landfill site due to the biodegradation of the municipal solids. And then these having a pipings that go to the center. So to one place, and then they will process and then use as a electricity in for the landfill operations. Okay, so the final one is the issues of the landfills, which is regarding the public health and also environments. Okay, so the present resources recovery system all require landfills for their disposal. So regarding the public health and environmental protections, a proper design and operate landfills will offer an advantage in the following areas. So first is the aesthetic, gas and leachates, birds, fires and odor, drainage, pests, rats, and scavengings. So next slide, we're having the detailed explanations of each of the factors. So you can read through each of these factors by your own, right? So, and then this is what I've been promised to you, the link. Okay, because this now is a COVID time, you cannot go to field visit. So you mainly might didn't have a very clear ideas how the landfill operating, how's the landfill works. So I give you the videos that you can go through and then watch through it so that you can have the idea how's the landfill working, how's the landfill work. Okay, and then also I provide you the transfer stations videos from the Alam Flora. So you can go through this and then you can know how the transfer stations operate. Okay, right? So that's all from our chapter. So thank you for your listenings. And then if you have any questions, you are free to ask me through any methods or any medias that you can get to me. All right. So thank you all of you. So that's all for today class.